I'm going to drop some nosis on you today. From my observation, I see that this realm started fully functional. It was designed to operate fully functional at the start. With the life eating life program that keeps every life sustaining itself. There could not have been a beginning where things just came out of nothing and that cycle brought life here. That would have collapsed at the very beginning. First of all, there is no life to give life to the life, because in order for that life to get life, something would have had to die in order for that life to get life. You needed death at the very beginning for life to even exist in this realm. And to get death, you would need life. The only way this could happen is if that somehow there was just life and there was no death and life sustained itself. And then somehow death got brought into the life equation. And that life got cursed to die. And then that's what fueled the whole system. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that's just something that I can think of that could be a alternative. I'm not saying it's true. Like what they say in the religious texts, there was life, and then we were cursed, and death got brought into existence. And because life already existed, because of the life dying, that brought life to new things. Okay? I'm not saying that's true. So from my observation, I can see that this was a fully functioning, well-oiled death machine from the get-go. It's like a game engine that was pre-designed to work perfectly the way it works. Everything was already set in motion from the beginning. Because if you take anything out of the complex systems of this world, of nature itself, it couldn't exist on its own. Everything is dependent on something else. You got the food web itself. Plants can't exist without decay and survival in the soil of millions of organisms all duking it out for survival, eating and shitting to give abundant nutrients to the soil, which the plant receives and grows. Yes, the plant gets some sort of energy from the sun, but without the death and decay in the soil and the nutrients, there would be no plant. And if there are no plants, there are no animals. And if there are no animals, there's no animals eating animals. And if there are no insects, there are no... Basically, the food web, the chain from bacteria to fungi to insect to plant. I mean, bacteria, fungi, plant, insect, animals. And then us, the top of the food chain, right? It's all dependent on the chain below it. If anything was severed, this whole thing would collapse. You can't tell me that all of this sprang from non-existence through pure evolution with no intelligence behind it, because it would immediately collapse from the get-go. If somehow magically life appeared, it would automatically be snuffed out, because the intricate systems aren't there to continue life into what we see now. It would just purely collapse. Everything perfectly recycles everything here. There's nothing that goes to waste. It's like an efficiently designed recycling plant. The waste equals fuel for more life. Waste, which could mean things that you excrete out of your body from processing living life, which now is dead because you've sucked the life force out of it basically, and you've excreted the waste out. Now, this system is perfectly designed to take that waste and to use it as fuel to bring more life. Every creature, every plant, every living organism perfectly fits in its own niche in this food web, in this recycling generating machine to keep life going, which ultimately keeps death going, which ultimately keeps life going, which ultimately keeps the recycling process going. There are instant full ecosystems that are highly complex. The forest that you go to is a highly complex ecosystem. Everything working in tangent to keep this system going. There is an intelligence, I'm not saying it's good, but an intelligence that's holding all of this together. Even all of the cells of your body. You can look at it through your own lens. You did not dictate, you did not have any control over the cellular work of your body from when you were born until now, until you die. Nothing in your body is actually controlled by you. There is an intelligence that's holding and dictating what your body is doing. You do not consciously choose to digest your food. You do not consciously choose to take the nutrients and put it where it goes. You don't consciously choose to develop from a baby to who you are now. You don't consciously choose the oxygen coming in, all of the processes getting through your bloodstream and going where it needs to go. The animal didn't choose all of the cells working together in unison to create and move and be the animal or the plant or anything of it. There is an intelligence that designed all of this. This intelligence is keeping everything in motion. This intelligence has nothing to do with you. There's an intelligence of the body, and there's an intelligence of so-called you, your conscious mind. And you could say there's an intelligence of the spirit, which is beyond all of this. And if you don't believe that, or if you haven't become aware of that, then take what you want from what I'm saying and apply it to how it fits you. What I'm saying is there is an intelligence that is beyond your control, that has nothing to do with you, and is ultimately powering and enforcing everything that you see in this realm. I'm not saying it's a person. I'm not saying it's an entity. I'm not saying it's basically, I don't know what it is. It could be one or all of the above. But it's like a game engine that's running and that had to be perfectly designed right from the beginning. Because if it wasn't, all of this would collapse. It would cease to exist. And you would in no way see such high complexity in organisms and systems, not only in your own body and in the organisms of everything else, but in the entire ecosystem and how everything is perfectly designed to function the way it functions. So everything requires everything to have already died to exist. That's an impossible natural start. So everything already needs to be running because everything is dependent on each other in everything. So this life-eating life ensures constant recycling of energy and materials. So you get scarcity, hunger, survival pressures, keep everything in motion. So from my observation, this system was installed and fully running from the get-go. It wasn't gradually assembled. It wasn't over time. Things led to this and this led to that. And then now we see what we see because of the string of events that miraculously happened out of nowhere. The entire chain of life is dependent on everything else. If it just sprang out of nothing, the entire thing would collapse almost immediately. So this looks like a intelligent, self-engineered, self-reinforcing feeding circuit. So this realm is engineered and designed so that every level depends on breaking down another, which guarantees no part can independently sustain itself. Everything returns to the system upon death. This place runs itself without any conscious control of you or anything in it. So it's like a developer who designs a game engine on a video game. It's going to run while you're playing it. It doesn't care what you think, how you feel, or what you consciously want to do. You have to play within the bounds of the game engine that's running. And this game engine that's running is life being eaten by life. Death fueling life. So what I'm trying to get at here is there is purpose and meaning that was engineered into this place. There's a reason that some intelligence has designed and engineered this place. Since we know it is some form of intelligence that gives its creation meaning and purpose for at least it. And along this line of thinking, history does not need to happen for us to be where we are. Since we can ponder that this place didn't come out of nothing, this place was fully operational from the beginning, that means history itself could all just be a fabrication. Backstory to the false reality to get us more entrenched and deluded in believing outright lies. If you go back in history, you can see the lies and falsifications and things that don't fit and things that don't make sense. So we already know that. But what I'm saying is, it could all be a fabrication. For all we know, we could have popped into existence. I mean, this place could have started at any time, any point, anywhere in all history that we've been fed or even believed or witnessed could just be backstory to the Avatar character. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying it could be true. The more this thing can dilute your perception and try to bound it into the way it wants you to perceive reality, the more you're going to be boxed in. But if you can allow your vision to expand past the set box that it put you in, you can begin to see and ponder different things. So if we look at history, we can see there have been many inconsistencies. If you really dive deep, you can see that there have been many resets over time. Now, is that just backstory or did it actually happen? That's the thing. But if we're going with it actually happened, we can see there have been many resets. So resets within the simulation and started over. We could have been reset as far back as 100 years from now, even sooner or a little later. But there's differing cycles of resets. Our knowledge of this place could have exceeded what we already know now. That's why when you look and perceive the world the way that they want you to look and perceive it, it's going to be extremely hard for you to have true nosis if you're perceiving reality in the preconceived box that neatly fits and was given to you. If we can consider that there is an intelligence behind all this, it set this into motion. You had no say over it. You had no control over it. You're just here observing, witnessing. So this realm had a start date that was fully operational, and somehow we find ourselves here, trapped in this thing. And this thing wants you to believe that there were a string of events in history that led to where you are now. All your family lineage from way back, way back, from the very beginning, led you to be here now. You cannot trace it back. You do not know anyone who can. And if you do know people, or people claim that they can trace their lineage back, they're just going off of what other people have said. The further you go back in history, you're just relying on what other people that you don't know and can't trust and can't verify if they're real or if it actually happened. You're trusting that they're telling you the truth. But as we know today, most of the places that you get information from are not reliable. They're not trustworthy. And imagine all throughout so-called history, you're relying on people you don't know, you can't personally verify yourself, and that were controlled ultimately by some form of archonic influence and power. Do you think they would be able to control the information and to tell us what the archonic power wants us to believe? Easily. Every generation, 2-3 generations, no one can verify what those previous generations actually thought, witnessed, experienced, or what actually happened. Especially if there was no video evidence, if there's no picture evidence. But even now, as we know today, all of those evidences can be forged and faked. Yes, with AI, but also staged. All the things on the news, all the things on television, all the things on social media, all of those can be staged, and a lot of it has been staged. World events have all been staged. So what I'm saying is, you can't trust anything that this place is feeding you, wanting you to believe. So if you're believing in the box of what they've fed you, that's not verifiably true. Anything can be faked and staged and manipulated, especially in so-called history, years and years and years and years ago, that no one actually can verify other than going back to, this is my primary source. There's sources that, there's evidence that it happened because this source said so, and that source said so, and this source said so. So they all say the same thing, so that must have happened. How many people today are all saying the same thing, which you know is a lie? Now imagine there's only a few pieces of information that have been tightly guarded by scholars and the control grid of this world, which all can be forged and then pushed throughout so-called history to get you to believe what you want to believe, what they want you to believe. I don't know. It sounds pretty fishy, man. It sounds pretty fishy. So we're in a fake reality. Everything's staged and scripted, and it's formed by some sort of intelligence that's artificially, basically, keeping this thing running. Artificially, as in, it doesn't make sense how this place started, and it's continuing to keep going. And how if we weren't all being puppeted and controlled on a level that's not perceptible to us, we can get sort of glimpses of it with things that what we're talking about. But ultimately, if you look at the animals, the plants, what is actually keeping them going? It's not something that's coming consciously from them. There's some sort of force that is artificially breathing life, keeping this place going. But it's not life. Energy, basically. For when things start to decay is when the energy that's animating it goes away. When it fully so-called dies is when the animating energy that's keeping the intelligence of all the cells working together is taken out. Like the Wi-Fi signal that's communicating to everything. And once that intelligence is taken out, it collapses. The organism collapses and becomes fuel for something else. I'm just thinking, pondering, and going through it in hopes that you can get something out of it. If it sparks anything in you, this is where the conversation continues. I think it's very important for us to continue this open discussion and exploration of so-called nosis, because it's very important for the truth to come out. And hopefully that truth leads us to come out of the false deception, of the false reality, of the false game engine reality that's generating all of these experiences, leading us to believe that this is it, and it's not it. And I find solace and comfort and encouragement, enthusiasm, the spark that keeps the spark going when I hear other people talk about these sort of things. Even if it's not what I agree with, or I do agree with it, or I agree with some of it. Whatever it is, it's keeping that spark within us. It's you could say it's fueling that spark to keep I don't want to say feeding, energizing it to dissolve the lies and the propaganda and everything like that. On a very basic level, it just brings comfort to the ones like us who can see this, who are experiencing this. And there's really nothing of this world that brings us any sort of comfort. But when we talk about things like this, it re-energizes us. It tells us, yes, this is not where I sprang out of life. This is not my realm. This is not what I call home. This is nowhere near what I want to associate myself with. There's something that's been hidden, taken from me, and led me to believe I'm just a puppet dancing around on stage with no control or free will. And all the boxes they put you in lead you to believe that and feel like this is it. Well, I gotta go to work now. I gotta go to work now. Hopefully what I said makes sense. Build off of it. I probably didn't say anything new or extravagant, but for gnosis to happen within, it doesn't matter who else says it, or who else found it, or how many people have already said this before. It matters that you yourself have found it within you. You yourself become awoken to the truths. If you want to call it truths. It doesn't matter what someone else has said. It doesn't matter what someone else has figured out. It doesn't matter what someone else has come to know or has said before. It matters what you have realized. It matters what you have shed away. It matters what you, if you finally get it, oh yes, you finally get it. You get something. You've realized something. Something's awoken within you. That's what matters to you. And that's why I was listening to Fish's video earlier. I'm ecstatic that you're back. But that's why antinatalism doesn't work overall. But it works on an individual level. It matters that you do not continue this cycle. You may not have control over whether or not things get popped out into this existence. But you didn't feed it. You did not sacrifice another spirit to the god of death and decay. Which means you do not have the attachment. Which means that allows you freedom velocity with no strings. with no anchors. It's very important for you. You may not be able to control other people, but you can let the nosis within you guide you into what's best and into what you know is right. Just because you don't maliciously beat someone doesn't mean someone else is going to do it out there. Okay, you see what I'm saying? But you decided not to. The cycle within you has stopped. Just because bad things continue to exist in this world doesn't mean that by you not doing it, you're not doing anything. You are. You're doing it for you. You're not allowing this evil psychopathic energy intelligence to work through you, if that makes sense. So it's very important that you not have kids. But I see what you're saying. My mom has said that too. Like, oh yeah, if you don't have kids, what's stopping that spirit from just popping out of someone else? It just will go somewhere else. Okay, if that is true, then that's true. But you don't have the anchors. You don't have the attachments. You're not blooming that from what you do into this existence. And you could say, well, if conscious people had kids, they could teach them how to escape the soul trap. Blah, 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 blah. No. The best thing you can do is do not participate as much as you can. And birthing children into this shit show is the number one participation thing. I mean, the number one non-participation you can do. Just my thoughts, just my opinions. Is it really coming from me or is it coming from the programmed mind? I don't know. Well, gots to go now.